Ever thought about how people may look different on the outside, but we are actually the same on the inside? This is exactly what you should think about when you see someone with a disability. We don't know people's stories, and neither do they know ours. We are all survivors of something. It may not seem as serious as surviving a fire or getting one of your limbs amputated, but it is your story. We are all human and should treat each other like one. People who have never interacted with a person who has a mental or physical disability may feel the process is intimidating or nerve-wracking. They might worry what to talk about or how to avoid staring. These concerns are understandable, but it's important to realize people with disabilities should be treated the same as everyone else. The most important part of interacting with someone who has a disability is seeing that person for whom he or she is, and not what disability that person has. What it boils down to is having a sense of disability awareness and disability etiquette. First and foremost, rely on common sense to guide your interactions with people with disabilities and behave in the same courteous and respectful way with individuals with disabilities that you would with anyone. Just as Vantage Mobile said in one of their blog posts, finding commonalities before thinking about differences can play a major role when speaking to someone who may be physically different from you. Common ground is the base of all human connections. Once you found something in common, then you can deal with the differences. For example, a person in a wheelchair might use a wheelchair lift and hand controls to get into a car and drive. Rather than thinking about how you and this person drive differently, focus on the commonality. Both of you drive. In this instance, the difference doesn't matter. Do not victimize people with disabilities. Referring to someone as a spinal cord injury victim or a cerebral palsy victim has the potential to take away that person's power. It deprives them of their strength and ability to overcome. Because the emphasis is on what happened to them as opposed to what they did about it, it will be more appropriate to refer to someone with a disability as a survivor. Never assume they see their disability as a tragedy. Many people with disabilities have worked through tough emotions to be happy and content with their lives. A seemingly harmless statement like, "Oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you," might make a person with a disability feel sad and sorry. Never avoid someone with a disability. People who fear they could do or say something unintentionally disrespectful toward a person with a disability will sometimes default to ignoring that person altogether. Never do this. People with disabilities are human and their existence deserves acknowledgement. Any human would feel terrible being ignored. It's never the right choice. Ask if they need assistance before providing it. Don't try to accommodate every last need of someone with a disability in attempts to be respectful. The better choice is to ask, "Is there anything I could help you with?" Helping before asking implies he or she is incapable and can offend the person, especially if they've worked hard to be able to care for themselves. Do not underestimate the abilities of someone with a disability. Many people with disabilities are capable of caring for themselves without any assistance. They've spent a long time adjusting to a different way of life. It could be purchasing wheelchair-accessible vehicles for transportation, calling ahead to make sure a restaurant is wheelchair-accessible, installing tile in their homes to avoid wheelchair friction on carpet, etc. They understand what they are capable of and what their limitations are, so don't worry about taking care of them. Be cautious of using outdated and offensive terms. Words like handicapped or wheelchair-bound are not acceptable terms to use today. Many wheelchair users don't like the word bound because of its negative connection, meaning they're tied down to the chair. Wheelchairs allow freedom and mobility. Wheelchair accessible is the more appropriate term to use. Handicapped is a broad and general term that many people think implies helplessness. Disabled is more appropriate. The number one thing to remember is to treat someone with a disability how you would want to be treated. Everyone appreciates respect and etiquette, not just people with disabilities. Thank you.